The podcast today is about bad habits and how they can hold us back from living a totally free life, in the sense that we want to be happy, we want to be feeling good about where we're going, we want to be feeling motivated, we want to be excited about the success and the goals that we have in front of us. And if we're doing things repeatedly that make us feel less than adequate, that make us feel less than confident, you know what those things are. We all have those things that we do often repeatedly over and over through the day or through the weeks that make us feel crappy. And we don't want to be doing these things too much. Obviously, sometimes there are things that we can do in life that are a bit of a treat, that feel good in the moment, whether it be a little cigarette or a cheeky little cheesecake. We want to understand that those are short-term pleasures that can, of course, turn into long-term hells if we turn those into habits. And we need to understand the distinction between enjoying a treat as a reward occasionally for the work that we've done and those things that we do repeatedly that make us feel terrible. So this is going to be a podcast about turning bad habit, or turning a life that is full of bad habits into a life that's full of success habits. And being untethered, being free, requires that we shake out the habits that we have in our lives that make us feel bad, that restrict us from functioning properly, efficiently, in a motivated way that helps us move forward. We need to shake these bad habits out. And I want to talk about that and how I've done it, how I am doing it, how I do it in the most effective way that works for me and is not just about pseudoscience and affirmations and kidding yourself into thinking that you're changing but you're not. This is about results. Being a free man in a chaotic world is about doing things that lead to results. We don't want to piss around. We ain't got time for wasting our time with things that don't work. So I want to talk about all the things that have worked for me personally in terms of dropping bad habits, being honest with myself about the bad habits that I've been bringing on, and how I have most effectively eradicated the crap out of my life and replaced those bad habits with good habits. So how do we do it? How do we change from the bad habit guy to the good habit guy? There are two aspects to clearing out the junk and turning that stuff into success. And success starts with habits. If you want to be successful, whether it be financially, in relationships, with your ability to travel, your ability to build wealth, whatever it is, it starts with your behaviors, and it starts with acknowledging, getting honest about what those things in your life are that hold you back, that make you feel bad. And it could be stuff that everyone else seemingly seems to be doing, and you are doing them as well. It could be drinking coffee, it could be smoking, it could be eating sugar, it could be eating pastries, it could be watching YouTube videos too much. Whatever it is, you got to be honest with yourself about what are those things that you do, especially those things on a regular basis, that make you feel less good about yourself, that make you less productive, that make you feel annoyed that you wasted that time again and again and again. You got to get honest with yourself. You've got to call them out. You've got to call out those bad habits, and do not allow the people around you to define how you behave. To not allow yourself to be moved, to be changed by, or to be obligated to do certain things because you're people-pleasing or you're trying to present yourself in a certain way to others. Other people should not be having any kind of an impact on the decisions you make. You need to be making decisions for yourself. And no matter where you are in the process, in the sequence, from being immature and weighed down by bad habits all the way up to total success, great habits, great life. You know where you are on that sequence, and if it requires you taking something out of your life that doesn't seem to bother most other people, then you need to do that. So it could be that you get anxious after a couple of cups of coffee, like I have been known to respond in that way. And I've had to make the rather brutal decision, for example, of having been honest about my coffee leading to unnecessary jittery anxiety and aggression, that I've had to cut out the coffee. So coffee's gone, at least for the time being. I know that that is one of those habits that is holding me back. Even if it's in a small way, we need to get into the details. And we need to address the seemingly small things that on the surface don't look like they matter much, but actually they matter a whole lot. They affect our behavior, they affect our mood, and you've got to get really strict here. This is a podcast for guys who are ambitious. This isn't aimed at the average Joe who just wants security and just wants to pay the bills. This is for you guys. You can switch off now if you're not interested in building a very abundant life, a life full of riches in all aspects. This is about building a buffer. This is about the extras. This is about creating a big margin of success in all areas. So you've got to get with me here on this route of getting strict and addressing all those little things that hold you back. So maybe you smoke, and maybe it's just like 2 cigarettes a day, and you think to yourself, you kid yourself. Let's get that right. You're kidding yourself into thinking that it's okay when it's not. These things accumulate. These things might make you anxious and therefore avoidant of certain things. Whatever it is, you know what is holding you back. And the only way to get into the nugget of this is to be honest with yourself. So call out those things that hold you back in life. You know what they are, those bad habits. Call them out, write them down, and we now need to start eradicating those things out. We need to get really strict here. We need to start really getting serious about success. We need to start getting a little bit unreasonable. So this is from someone else's perspective. So from the average Joe's perspective, a lot of this stuff will seem unreasonable. It might be unreasonable to someone for you to give up alcohol, at least for a good phase of the next chunk of your life, because you know that alcohol is holding you back. You know that it's giving you unnecessary hangovers. If it's holding you back in any way, let's think about getting serious about this and eradicating. I know that I had to cut out carbs from about 95% of my life. This is all carbs, including fruit, because I get anxious from it. It makes me anxious, it makes me moody, it clouds my mind, it makes me sweaty when I get nervous. It just holds me back in so many little ways. And for the last 10 years or so, I've been living with this. Of course, admittedly, I didn't really know that carbs were causing the problems that they were causing initially, and it's taken me a while through lots of research and asking around and internet research to figure it out and to really get to the cause. But I have had to get quite dramatic about cutting out this element of my diet, for example, because I know that it's holding me back. I know that it's a hurdle in my life, it's a block in my life, and it's about getting serious now. I'm approaching 35, so this might be part of the reason is that I'm approaching a certain stage in my life where I know that there are certain things that if they're holding me back, they need to go now. They really need to go if I'm to really start seeing my full potential extended out further than it has been. So I've been living a pretty sensible life, shall we say, and doing fairly well and working hard and all that stuff for many years. But as I age a little bit further, I'm starting to see the patterns, and I'm starting to see those little things that I previously thought were not little things or not big things actually were quite big things. So think about those things that hold you back, write them down. So calling out those habits by name and being totally crystal clear about why they need to go, why they need to be eradicated out of your life, is one aspect of changing your life for the good in terms of habits. The other aspect is not spoken about so much, but I think is vital in tandem with the initial aspect of clearing out bad habits and being clear about why you don't want them in your life, and that's to focus on how you can be successful. We need to think about bad habits and the eradication of bad habits in the sense that it only really works if you've got something interesting and juicy to aim for looking forward. You need to be committed to success. Otherwise, you're going to allow the doubts to creep back in again. You're going to allow reasons and ruminations and rationalizations and thinking at the level of the mind to go back to those bad habits. So it's about two aspects. This is utterly crucial. And as I said previously, it's to live a successful life, it is about attending to this foundation, the foundation of good habits. The successful person lives successfully today. The successful person has successful habits, and they avoid those bad habits. And to live that kind of life requires that you get clear about what habits need to go. You need to get serious about why they need to go. And you need to start being the kind of guy, being the kind of person who commits to success, because success and successful behaviors will start to smother what previously led you to bad habits. Does that make sense? So if you fill your mind with all the goals and all the targets and all the exciting things you could do with your life, and you get really unreasonably over the top about how your life can change for the better, you absorb yourself in motivational tapes and audios and books, and you write your goals down twice a day, and you make sure that through the day you're filling it, you're squeezing out every spare minute of the day for results, for little wins that drive you forward, for little progressive steps towards your goals. You fill your day with unreasonable amounts of successful pursuit. You are pursuing your successes. All of this action is going to take your attention away from self-doubt, rumination, worrying, and all the things that used to require you to escape from them through bad habits. So if you haven't got any exciting goals, if you haven't got any juicy payoffs, if you haven't got any exciting potential clients and mentors and interesting people that you could be reaching out to, and you've got them featured in your life plan of ultimate success, then you're going to allow yourself to, give yourself the excuse to slip back to the odd cigarette and have a cheeky little pastry here and there. But if you've got a really visceral, interesting reason to be cutting out those bad habits and to be focused on actively engaging in successful habits, it's going to be 100%, probably more than that, easier than if you've just got, okay, let's cut out bad habits. It's tedious stuff. If you have to deny yourself all those things that you previously used to like chocolate, sugar, carbs, coffee, masturbation, porn, if you just commit to eradicating one of those things out, one at a time, and you have your mediocre life in front of you, where's the incentive? Where's the fun of doing it? It's only going to be exciting to do. It's only going to be truly motivating to cut bad habits if you, in tandem with denying those habits, accepting that they have to go, being clear on why they have to go, in tandem with all that stuff, you have a really exciting life of success ahead of you. That is the way to make this stuff work, and it's been incredibly helpful for me in doing both of these things. So I'm working slowly, bit by bit, at eradicating a lot of bad habits, and most of them have gone, and actually most of them I've just cleared out all at the same time. I do allow myself the occasional treat as a form of reward for having done good things, and I encourage you guys to do that as well if you want, but for the most part, there are many bad habits, drugs effectively, bad drugs. I mean, most bad habits are a drug of some sort, whether it be porn, video games, coffee, whatever it is. I know that some of these things are going to be totally okay for some of you, but some, like I've seen in myself, you just have to get strict and you've got to get real. If it's holding you back in any small way, it's probably holding you back in a much bigger way than you think. So you can eradicate all at the same time, but for something like sugar, for me, my life has been dramatically improved by cutting it out for the most part, and then allowing myself a cake or a bit of chocolate once or twice a month. So I've got the benefits of the odd reward, and sugar tastes 100 times better, of course, in those small moments of treating myself. But I've also got the reward of having a clear mind through the month, feeling more motivated, feeling happier, feeling that sense of joy and hope, and combining all those great feelings with getting on with success, getting on with making and bringing results into my life and seeing little wins. So this is a big topic, and I'm not here to identify one particular bad drug or bad habit and work with you through eradicating that one particular thing. That is going to be down to you. But as I say, and we can go into a little bit more detail on how to clear out that bad habit in a second, but I want to approach this at a sort of macro level. This is more of an introductory podcast to the idea of changing your life quite dramatically through understanding how habits work and understanding how the dynamic of purpose and being successful and aiming to be successful in the way that you define it, especially in the sense of being independent and being untethered and being wealthy and using money to allow you to create more freedom for yourself. Those two things combined is power. Those two things is changing my life in dramatic ways as we speak. And you need to see all of this stuff as energy. Changing your life is about understanding how energy works and how momentum as a form of energy is a crucial aspect of this change being possible. You need to understand that if you allow momentum, you allow the energy in the momentum that comes with all this to peter out. This will not work. So one thing that really flipped a switch for me in making all of this stuff actually happen, so turning off bad habits and actually staying with those habits turned off and focusing on success, the way that the icing on the cake was understanding the dynamic of momentum in all of this and feeding that success at unreasonable levels. So for the average Joe, they'll be looking at you thinking that is mental. Who does that? Who gets up at 5 a.m.? Who cuts out all their bad habits to the degree that Alex has? That's ridiculous. He's stopping all sugar. He's cut out all carbs. He's stopped caffeine. He's a total square, completely boring. He's quit alcohol, quit smoking of all kinds. I mean, it is over the top for most people. But for you, someone who can get his teeth into the idea of actually genuinely being successful, this stuff, it's nothing. It's nothing to me. It's like, of course I'll quit alcohol if I actually have these plans that I have now. I have big, big plans. I'm looking for the electrical drive that comes with living life to its absolute fullest. So, and I think it's important. I don't think it's like an option. I think success is like making lots of money and being totally untethered and totally free and having tons of wealth, and actually being able to go out there and buy what you need for the freedom that you can have. I think it's necessary because it's about the energy. It's about what feeds the energy. All of this success stuff sounds superficial, and I think a lot of that comes out of the myth surrounding rich people being bad and the pursuit of wealth is just selfish and all that stuff. Forget about all that. Forget about the whole let's be good by being poor philosophy, and focus on the energy that it creates in you by giving yourself the permission to live an interesting life that's full of everything that you want. Not a life of balance, but a life of having what you want in abundance. And stop denying yourself the ability, the choice, the passion that comes with aiming high, aiming for big clients, big money, big wealth, big investments, big freedom. Because that is going to turn a light on in you like it has in me. It's turned a switch on in me that is creating an ongoing, and of course you need to remind yourself of all these ideas every day, an ongoing torrent of energy that helps me stay off the negative track and focus on the positive track. And by focusing on the positive and overwhelming myself with positive ideas and exciting ideas and positive actions, of course it's all about the behaviors, isn't it? You've got to be doing stuff. You start forgetting all that stuff that's behind you. You start forgetting all the reasons why you ran along to the escapes that you had before. And life becomes a lot more interesting to say the least. Okay, that is probably enough for this podcast. I've probably gone on long enough. If you want to hear more about this kind of stuff, I like this. This is interesting for me because it motivates me as I say it. It riles me up and gets me excited about my own stuff as well. But to summarize, and let me know, because this is obviously the early stages of this podcast. I want to know whether I'm talking too much on a particular topic or not going into enough depth, if this is too short, whatever. Let me know. I know that a lot of you are listening who have a bit more time to spare, because you have the option, of course, of going to my YouTube channel and listening to shorter snippets of stuff. But if you're on a commute, for example, or if you've got a bit more time, this is the place to come for a bit more in-depth material. But the summary of what I've been saying is, to live a good life, to live a free life, requires the transition from shaking out the negative stuff, the bad drugs, the bad habits, and focusing on success, total freedom, total happiness, and allowing that success and that focus, that new attention that you've put on the success to drown out and smother all of those doubts from previous habits. And the way to do that is to get honest about what bad habits you have in your life, call them out by name, be totally clear about why they need to go and how good life will be without them. Write down those notes every day and return to those notes, return to those reasons, reaffirm the purpose behind why you are dropping those negatives. So it's about that. It's about accepting the fact that you've got to get serious about dropping all the bad stuff. Everything that is holding you back has to go now. And in tandem with that, at the same time that you do all this stuff, at the same time that you are dropping these bad habits, this is just me describing how I've done things and how it's worked for me. Drop the bad habits and immediately get into living a life of success, doing the kinds of things that the successful version of you would do, had he reached that incredible level of success. You have to be the guy before you get there. And that means living a life of successful habits, focusing on interesting, juicy goals, and just getting excited about how things could be, and immersing yourself in positive ideas, positive books, positive audios. That is the killer combination. Focus on success, put your attention towards success, and get strict about dropping those bad habits. And if those bad habits keep coming back, remind yourself of why they need to go and accept that they need to go, and very quickly turn your attention. So it's about attention. Turn your attention towards the success. So this is to a successful life, guys. I hope that made sense. I hope that inspired some of you guys. If you want to hear more about this kind of stuff, let me know in the comments wherever you're listening to this. Make sure you're subscribed to this podcast wherever you're listening to this. It's been an absolute pleasure, guys. Again, make sure that you have subscribed to my newsletter, where you will receive stuff that you don't hear about anywhere else, at alexmathers.net. Also, make sure that you have followed me, you subscribe to my YouTube channel, which is growing by the day and is a lot of fun, and I share plenty of stuff, including the business of building a coaching business, the business of getting clients, the business of making money, and getting confident. All of that stuff's over there, and it's over here as well, but at a bit more depth. So Alex Mathers Films is the place to subscribe to me at YouTube. Thanks for listening, guys. Absolute pleasure, and I will see you in the next episode.